SpongicX here, and I just saw Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2. Now, the first Inside Out is a movie I really enjoyed, being a clever idea of emotions controlling the actions of a girl named Riley, led by the emotion of joy, voiced by Amy Poehler, along with the emotions of sadness, disgust, fear, and anger. The movie had a real important message of how sadness isn't as useless of an emotion as everyone else seems to think it is, along with how real important memories are made when we let other emotions in instead of letting one emotion dictate all actions. The sequel once again reminds the viewers of the importance of not letting one emotion dictate all, but it tells it in a very different way. Right away, I'm going to say that the sequel was decent, but I personally found it a little weaker than the first one. The first one was just the right mixture of funny, creative, and emotional throughout. It just kept me entertained throughout, but I found the sequel to be mostly boring during the first half, and I didn't really get into it until the later half, but it doesn't help that the previews gave way too much away, which really spoiled any surprises this movie could have had. So when Riley reaches puberty, the mind's HQ gets overhauled, and we get new emotions, including anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and ennui. This was the most useless character in the movie. I swear, the only thing they were used for is their cell phone, which got used as a plot device at one point, thanks to sadness. But other than that, it's like, yeah, that character felt entirely pointless. So the new emotions are pretty much the villains of the movie, as anxiety takes over, finding the old emotions to be out of date, as she suppresses them in a jar and sends them to a vault of Riley's secrets. Meanwhile, Riley gets sent to a hockey camp and tries sucking up to the camp's best player, as anxiety and envy's manipulation cause Riley to act like a jerk and reject her best friends. Now, normally stuff like this would annoy me in a movie to the point where I don't even want to watch the movie, since it's been done to death and it's never pleasant to sit through, but I gave it a pass this time since this movie has an excuse as to why she's acting this way, because of her personified emotions, misguided attempts to make Riley succeed in life. Their intentions were good, it's just their actions were bad, basically. And so, in the first movie, I was invested in the plots for both the emotions and Riley and her parents. But in this sequel, I honestly got sick every time it got back to Riley's plot with hockey camp, and I was more invested in the emotions journey. So while the first film focused more on joy and sadness adventuring back to HQ after a mishap separates them from the others, the sequel feels more like a fugitive film, as all the emotions are separated from HQ, and they have to work together to adventure back while avoiding some kind of security that's after them, and they have to try stopping anxiety from ruining Riley's mind. Sadness takes a bit of a backseat this time, but she still has a very important role, as she is able to sneak back into HQ and spy on the new emotions, and she's able to radio back to Joy and the others to update them on what's going on. Eventually, Sadness does get discovered by Embarrassment, but luckily he was able to realize that anxiety and envy are doing some wrong with Riley, and so he keeps quiet and even assists her in her spy work. So yeah, I can say Embarrassment was my favorite of the new emotions just for that. So there are some interesting ideas in this movie, but there were just too many and not enough time to flesh them out to be as fun as they could have been. For instance, when inside the Vault of Secrets, they meet a few characters that represent Riley's secrets, including a 2D preschooler mascot she secretly still likes, and a video game character somewhat resembling Cloud Strife, who Riley had a crush on, despite how that character has the most useless ability out of any video game characters, where all he does is slowly roll into a ball, and it just leaves him open for anyone to attack him. And to me, that was kind of funny. Not only is that relatable for playing a video game where, there's a character you wish you could like, but you don't like their abilities or something like that, but, everyone has a character who is a guilty pleasure, whether it's video games or movies. Just look at Boba Fett, for example. That's a character that people only like for his design, but when you really look at him, he was kind of a lame character. So, and Disney didn't make it any better when they made a whole show about him. So, there's also a giant threatening shadow creature claiming to be Riley's deepest, darkest secret, and we don't find out what he represents until after the credits, and it's very anticlimactic, so I would just wait till the Disney Plus release to watch the end credits scene. So if you see this in theaters, don't bother sticking around after the credits. There is an early credit scene with Riley's parents asking her how her trip at camp was, and we once again see the inside of their emotions, showing their response to Riley's response. And so, yeah, we get more landscapes based on puns of the subconscious, like a stream of thoughts being a river, a sarcasm being a chasm that appears when Riley becomes too sarcastic with her friends, and it causes the emotions echoes to come out very sarcastic sounding. And we see them explore Imagination Land, which is like an animation studio for Riley's ideas, but it's been taken over by only Anxiety's ideas. And we see Joy and the gang rally up the depressed artist to let Riley be creative again. It felt like a good commentary on the current state of art and animation in the industry, and how it's taken over by greed and they don't let people experiment anymore. So yeah, I did appreciate that scene. I definitely saw what they did there. I don't want to go into full spoilers with this movie, but the film does wrap up nicely with a very good message with trying to help people who are suffering with anxiety, and along with how important it is for emotions to not dictate oneself and to work together to be there to support oneself. The movie didn't nearly make me cry like the first one did during two very emotional scenes, but the scenes that were trying to be emotional, they were still effective though, but nowhere near as tear-jerking as the first film. So overall, I did enjoy the film, but I still consider the first one to be a lot better. I'd give Inside Out 2 a 7 out of 10. That's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and have a great day.